All right, I want to welcome on my next guest. We got former Georgia Tech and NFL running back with Mr. Jonathan Dwyer. Jonathan, how's everything going for you?
Doing good. Just enjoying time with family for the holidays.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What's this year been like for you? It needs to end. Like if we can skip days, we need to skip days. Like, I'm ready.
This has been crazy. Coach since this year I'm coaching varsity football at my old high school and dealing with that. Like kids being out, having to cancel games, having to find games for them to play in, and all these things like that. And then the kids, not being able to go to school, so and having to be at home for a little bit. Then they went back to school, and now they're probably going to be back and do virtual after this break. So it's been crazy.
Did like kids have to sign like a waiver or anything? Or they're just like, if you want to play, you can play?
Basically, no waiver. It's like if you play, but you have to wear your mask all the time, except for in practice. Anywhere we go, other than practice, like we have to wear masks. As soon as the practice is over with, wear your mask. Like disinfecting your pads, disinfecting your helmets, just all your stuff. Like when the kids get dressed or spaced out all over the place. So it's pretty wild.
Do you guys have any cases, or are you guys good?
We had a couple. Like we had to cancel one game, and then we ended up making it up later. Then another team canceled a game on us. Then we had to make it up later. So I mean, we had a good season, decent season.
Oh, cool.
Kids, able to get some. I was really mainly focused on the seniors so they can get,
Yeah.
want them to get scholarships and so they can go to college or whatnot and things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I feel like this year, like if you're senior, like you're not trying to get screwed by this thing. Like I know
Yes.
you want to be safe, but like you don't want to have you've been working this hard forever. And then now it's like, oh yeah, you got to go walk on somewhere. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah. So what about the NFL season? Are you surprised that they've had a couple kind of hiccups? Moved a lot of games around. It was like a freaking Wednesday 3:30 game, which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen before. Your Steelers, actually. So what do you think do you think like they're doing the best they can, or do you think what have been the thoughts on the season?
I think they're doing the best they possibly can. I mean, for this situation, everything that's going on, I think they're doing the best they can. I think the NFL players have it easy compared to the college guys because like the college guys are literally locked in on campus.
Yeah.
That's why I think we're having a lot of teams not what's it called? Not be able to go to bowl games and whatnot because they're not going to bowl games because the kids are like they're just tired.
Yeah.
They need to be around family. They haven't been around their families and all stuff like that. So it sucks for them more so than the NFL guys. At least the NFL guys need to go home to their families and things like that.
Do you think they should have postponed the college season, or do you think it had to happen?
I think it had to happen to a certain extent too, because like colleges are losing money. Colleges are losing all that different type of stuff too. So I mean it was best for because they did guys like Justin Fields would never play in the spring. All those type of players they would never play in the spring. So they still have a chance to win a national title. So
because I know I was looking at Auburn because I know they fired Gus Malzahn and they're like, oh yeah, so we got all these budget shortfalls. By the way, we're giving him 21 mil. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. Can't pay anybody else, but they're like, hey, old coach here, have a nice gift. Happy holidays. That's wild. And then what about for college football playoff? What are your expectations? How do you think it's gonna
go? It's just it's just odd because it's the situations. Some misplacements. I mean, if the player doesn't throw his shoe, and they only want, and then maybe they lost against Alabama, maybe if they beat Alabama, they're in the playoff and Notre Dame's out, and the situation with Ohio State, like, I don't think they're technically a top 4 team, but I mean, they are undefeated. They won a Big Ten. So it's like, and then they got the players. So, I mean, another game of seeing 2 Georgia guys going at it with Fields and Lawrence. I mean, it'll be good for TV and purposes.
Are they doing a virtual Heisman this year? I haven't even thought about that.
I think they're doing that for all the awards and the Heisman. That's what I was told.
It's honestly like somebody rings your doorbell during the thing, like you won the Heisman. We don't need to wait for Reese Davis anymore. So I want to ask you a little about your careers. How did you end up at Georgia Tech?
I think it was just mainly the guys that I ended up going to school with, guys like Morgan Burnett and Demaryius Thomas, like just building relationships with those type of guys, and throughout the high school process. I mean, I was supposed to go to Florida and be a Gator, but just I guess more so it was just the relationships I built with those guys that ended up making me go there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Guys like, and Coach Collins. Coach Collins recruited me. The head coach now. He was the tight ends coach when I was there, so he recruited me to get there.
What's it like going to playing football at a big time college in a big city?
It's fun, man, especially during that time period because we were winning. Unfortunately, the Falcons weren't doing well. The Hawks weren't doing well. The Braves were still being consistent, normal. But it was like we were the biggest ticket in town from the standpoint of the city. Like, in the city, like, one thing about Atlanta is like Atlanta's that one type of city. Like, once you're winning, like the whole city just like puts all their bastards in you, and and you get major love. So it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. How far is Georgia from Georgia Tech in Athens? How far is Athens?
The other school is I don't say their name. I call them the other school. So the other school is about 45 minutes, maybe an hour away.
Okay, interesting. That's wild. And then, so when you first got there, was like an adjustment period for you, or was it pretty relatively easy for you?
It was an adjustment to me from an academic standpoint, and then just the time management. I was pretty good at it, but it was on a whole different level. And then I tell kids all the time, college is a real time for you to realize if you really love your sport. That's in every sport, not just football. Like how much time you put into it and things like that. I think it's just like it really challenges and makes you really actually ask yourself, like, do I really love this game that I'm playing?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Did you reach out to any other former Georgia Tech guys to see like, hey, what's the best way to succeed here? What did you do? How can I put the groundwork on?
I had relationships with Calvin.
Cool.
Deshard Choice was like my big brother when I first got there.
Oh, cool.
Was a senior, and I was his backup my freshman year. So just following the guys ahead of us, and then just knowing what our class goals were to do things that never been done there, which was be a top 5 program, and we were, and win ACC titles back to back, and being a major bowl game, something Tech hasn't done in forever. So, we did accomplish all the things we wanted to do, and everybody got their individual goals at the same time.
Cool. What's the most underrated ACC city?
From a standpoint of
just like great fan base, great to hang out in.
Chapel Hill.
Interesting.
From a football standpoint, basketball is but football, like they love their ball too.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome. And then, so I have a question. What's your best Demaryius Thomas story from either growing up or from GT?
When I first met, I thought he was a tight end, and then I realized how fast he was, and I was like, I've just never seen anybody that big. Like from a standpoint of like, he just looks like a freak, and like it's just I've never seen someone that explosive, that big before.
Oh, cool. Is he still interested in playing? Because I know he was bouncing around the past couple of years.
Washington needs because
Washington needs a receiver. So
I don't know. I mean, I think this year's hurt a lot of guys just from getting picked up. Like a guy like Morgan Burnett. Like I know Morgan's healthy, but it's just like this whole situation. It's like do you put your family in jeopardy because of that? And his wife was pregnant, so it's like. And he'll probably be picked up next year, something like that. But I think it's just one of those tough situations for all the kids.
And then speaking of Calvin, were you shocked when he didn't make the NFL's all-time 100 team in terms of wide receiver?
Yes.
And I jumped out of my seat. I was like, who's making this list?
Yeah, I think that, and then like the whole like DK Metcalf comparisons. Like, I think DK is a very great player, but to sit here and compare him to a guy who was literally they had 2 corners lined up on him when he was lined up. So
no, because Thanksgiving was like his day. Like every year, like it's Thanksgiving. We got turkey today. I'm gonna have 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Because Metcalf, I thought Metcalf was gonna go up against Washington the other day, and their corners are fine. But honestly, because for me, he's the single-handed greatest receiver I've ever seen live. And people are like, oh no, we got to get this guy from like 1930. I'm like, who is Elroy Hirsch? Get the hell out! Get the hell out of here! I'm like, Megatron, and they're like, no. And then he's gonna be first ballot. Now that's wild. And then, so when did you sort of feel like you hit your groove at Georgia Tech? Like, when did you kind of feel like, all right, like I got this?
Pretty much, I would say my freshman year, just after playing a couple of big games, like playing against Virginia. They had Chris Long at the time, and playing against guys, that. I think the biggest thing is just once I got my confidence built up and realized I can play at this level and go against our defense in practice, really helped me out a lot too.
Who's the toughest guy you faced during your time at Georgia Tech on the opposing team? Like a guy that you maybe game plan for, or like a guy that you were like, damn, I didn't see that coming.
Probably Cam Chancellor because of how big and fast he was, and guys like that. We played Riddick Curran at Georgia. I think UNC's defense was like crazy during the time period. They had like Robert Quinn, Quan Sterling, Bruce Carter. They're like Marvin Austin. Like they just drafted like a bunch of draft picks.
Yeah. Do you think people kind of sleep on the ACC in terms of football now, especially because like SEC and Big Ten? Because I feel like there's people like, oh, it's Clemson and everybody else. I'm like, I don't know about that.
I think it's just like they're still players. I mean, the teams are catching up, but I mean, like, I think the thing is like, for instance, like a lot of kids like they go to SEC schools and then they end up transferring to like for instance, us at Tech, like you got a bunch of kids now who just transferred back to Tech because I guess they were at other places. I think that's where they have to go to get to the NFL, but you can go anywhere as long as you can ball, they'll find you.
Yeah,
but I think everybody sleeps. I think ACC and SEC ball is the elite of the elite. I mean, obviously you can go up north and play at Ohio State, but from a standpoint of like just straight ballers, I mean, there's no other place.
Everybody says Trevor Lawrence is going number one. Do you think Fields is the second best prospect in the country?
I think so. I think that, from a standpoint of, he doesn't make mistakes. Like he really doesn't do a lot of negative plays. And I just think that his game is very slept on, like how accurate he is as a passer. Like people talk about all his athletic ability, but they don't really break him down as a quarterback, like what he brings to the table.
In your opinion, who's the best running back in college football this year?
This year, I don't know, man. Like this, like there wasn't like any like huge big name guys. I would say, actually, no, I'll take that back. Najee Harris is probably number one
from Alabama. I feel like he's been in Alabama for 6. Has he been there for like 7 years? I feel like he's been there forever.
I think it seems like it, but I think his game has constantly gotten better. I think that his game is a lot more complete. I think he's running the way he's supposed to be running. Like I think people were expecting him to run as soon as he got there. But it's almost like the Derrick Henry thing. Like Derrick Henry wasn't running like that when he first got there, and same thing when he was in the NFL. Just took him time, and now like Najee can play receiver. He can play out of the backfield. He kind of reminds me of like Le'Veon a little bit, not too fast, but it kind of has like a little burst here or there. But they're size wise, they're both like over 6 foot. So
that's awesome. Is he draft eligible this year?
I think so. I think he'll probably be the first one off the board.
Once you're 35, you got to be eligible. So no, he's like him. And then who's the guy a couple of years ago? And I'm like, oh, what's his name? TJ Yeldon was in Alabama for 12 years. They're like, he's still there. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, there's always a couple. There's always a couple of players from every team. Like,
yeah,
I remember for us, like Muhammad Masquad was at Georgia for like 20 years. It seemed like. And then like other players from other, like Roddy Jones Russ was like there forever too. So,
And what's his name from Kansas, the basketball player, Perry Ellis. Perry Ellis has been there since 1968.
Yeah. There's a lot of players.
Yeah, that's wild. They just go in like the eligibility and they just go, oh no, he was born in '99, and they just change that shit every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wild. So what was it like being ACC Player of the Year in 08?
It was fun. I was kind of shocked about the whole situation, the news, and I was, I knew that I had a good year, but on that level, and then they never give it to a lower classman, excuse me. I think I was like the first lower classman ever win the award. So it was pretty cool. And, the rep GT and rep, where I'm from, and, just all the hard work went through.
That's awesome. And the following year, you guys won the ACC championship. What was that like? What was that season like?
It was a fun season. Like beating Vatech, first time being a top 5 team at home. Fans storming the field and tearing down the goalpost and taking it to the president's house. To winning, big games against Clemson, beating Clemson twice. Beating Florida State at Florida State, first time we did that since like the 80s or something like that. Beating Virginia the first time since 1990 at Virginia.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of things that year.
Yeah. I have a question. Did they play at Mercedes-Benz now?
They were supposed to play Notre Dame there. I think once everything clears up with the COVID, they'll have a game once a year at Mercedes-Benz.
Okay. The one thing I don't like about that stadium is they got a Chick-fil-A in there, and it's Falcons never on Monday night. Like, what the hell? It just sits there.
Yeah, well, I guess it benefits from like Saturdays.
Yeah. Saturdays you're good to go.
And then like the Atlanta United play there,
That's
so
yeah.
they benefit from it.
Yeah.
And then like the high school games, they'll play high school. Like they used to play the Corey Cup class. The high school games are on Saturdays, and they used to do the state championship there. So that's usually like during the week on Friday. So they usually benefit from it in some way.
I have a question in your opinion. Were you furious when Outkast didn't get the call for the Super Bowl a couple years ago in Atlanta?
When they what?
When Outkast wasn't
when Outkast didn't what?
When they weren't the Super Bowl halftime show, what was your reaction? Like, who's making these rules up?
I was disappointed. What was it? Even an Atlanta artist?
The only thing I remember that day is 21 Savage. We found out he was British, and I can't tell if that helps his street cred or hurts it.
Well, I think I was upset probably because I think it was an Atlanta artist, so that's probably the biggest. I don't think it was really based off it wasn't Outkast, but it could have been any Atlanta artist, and everybody would have been happy. But Outkast is what brought the status of Atlanta music. So
yeah, I'm like, as soon as they broke that, I'm like, all right. Something's up. I'm like, what if he was performing tonight? Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, that's wild. And so, what was your draft process like?
It was crazy, man. Like, from the outsteps of like trying to talk to people about the triple option that I was running at Tech, and I broke my toe in the bowl game, so I couldn't really train the way I wanted to at the beginning. Then like I finally got healed up, and I was going at it, and ended up doing some things at the combine, and then didn't do the way I wanted it to. The draft process was probably just a bucket list thing, being a kid and actually watching it and finally getting there was probably one of the coolest things.
Did you go where you thought you would be, or were you watching for a while? Like, when they call my name?
It was more of a situation where like certain teams like me in the first round, like San Diego did, and they were like down to picking between me and Ryan Matthews. And then
blast from the past, Ryan Matthews. I don't think anybody's mentioned Ryan Matthews in like 6 years. What's he up to now?
Yeah, I mean, we still friends. He's
cool.
He has like that rides like dirt bikes and stuff now.
I wonder if Phil Rivers is ever hanging out with him. So
I doubt it. But
you bring 8 of his kids. Just watch. Don't do anything.
Yeah, but I think it was him. I think the main thing was just like disappointment because of how late I went. I mean, basically because the offense I ran at Tech and teams didn't think I could do it, but not knowing so much I ran a pro style offense my freshman year at Tech. So, but it is what it is.
That's awesome.
At least I got my name called.
Yeah. What was that experience like when the Steelers reached out to you?
It was cool because I had no contact with the Steelers. Like I saw Coach Tomlin at my pro day, and I said hello to him and introduced myself. But like, from a standpoint of like having my information, talking to me, like on a football level, like the only teams I visited and talked to the most was San Diego, Philly, and Buffalo because Coach Gailey was at Buffalo at the time, and there's some other team. I can't remember what the other team was, but there's those 4 teams, and I was like, maybe those are 4 teams that probably didn't pick me, and was someone random. But I was glad I got where I picked.
Do you think this is the question I've always wondered? Anytime a guy gets drafted by Buffalo, like it's awesome to get drafted, but like Buffalo's cold as shit. Mm-hmm. Do you think guys are like, yes, I got to get a new coat?
I mean, I thought the same thing about Pittsburgh. Like I was like, I have no like winter coat. Like all I have is like Atlanta doesn't get cold like that. So it gets cold, but it's not like Pittsburgh cold.
Yeah. And I have a question. Do you remember the first time you met Antonio Brown?
Actually, we trained together for the at the combine. Like we trained together, and he was funny then. He was wild. Like he wasn't wild, but he wasn't.
That's interesting.
He was just a dog, man. Like he was just hungry, and he worked hard, and that's one thing I think no one could ever question. Like his work ethic is crazy, but he was just wanted an opportunity, and I knew once he got it, man, he was gonna take it by the horns and just go.
Did he say to you, watch one day, you're never gonna believe it, I'm gonna have a gold mustache?
He did tell someone he's gonna make millions, and he did do that. I tell you, he did.
Not the mustache though.
No, he didn't say nothing about
All right,
that.
because he'd be like, "Hey, just watch out one day. Check my IG. Get ready." That's wild. That's wild. What do you think of Tampa this year? Because like, as soon as they got him, I'm like, all right, who's stopping them? And now it's everybody.
I think that, playing under Bruce Arians' offense, it takes a time. Like, I think they'll do well and they'll make the playoffs and they'll make some noise. But the following year is when if his quarterback gets under his system, like the second year and ongoing, that's when they usually thrive the most because his offense is kind of complicated, and with the understanding what he wants, what he likes, and all things like that. I mean, they'll be better.
Yeah. And then for the Steelers this year, so lost three in a row, including to a team with no name, which might be worse than losing any games because I don't know how you lose a team with no name. What do you think's going on? Because I was actually talking to Rocky Blyer the other day, former Steeler who played with like Franco Harris, and he's concerned. And this was before they lost to Cincy. Now they lost to Cincy. What are your thoughts?
I think the defense is on the field a lot than what they need to be, especially missing like all those people that they are missing. Which I think their defense is still good, but they're missing some key places. They're missing Bud. They're missing Devin Bush. They're on the field a lot. And offense isn't moving the ball very well. I don't want to go too much in detail, but it's not looking good.
Do you think this is good for them long term, or do you think like they got to figure this out quickly?
I think from a standpoint, I think they need to figure it out, and at the standpoint, I think the front office needs to really look just over the season very, very closely.
Did you kind of think? Because I remember there were some rumors that they were looking at Jameis as the backup. Did you? What would be your thoughts on that? Because I don't know how much longer do you think Big Ben has? Because every year he's like, I think I'm gonna be done, and then he goes, by the way, I'll be back. I'll see you Tuesday. And I feel like that's happened for the last 6 years. How much longer do you think he has?
I really don't know. I don't know. I mean, he looks different. It looks like his throwing looks a little different. And sometimes good, sometimes bad. But I know that he's still capable of making good plays. I think they do need to get ready for when that time does come. Because just in case, I think that they need to, whether it's going for someone in free agency, someone like a veteran like Jameis, or they
can have Haskins. They can have Haskins.
They might. They might. I mean,
they can have Haskins for Twizzlers. For Twizzlers, they'll trade Haskins there.
Yes. So I think they really need to look into the future for sure. I mean, even if last year is just last year, they need to get ready.
Or right now, are they the best team in the division?
On paper, yes, but I think Cleveland's probably the most slept on team for sure in that division. Like I think Cleveland, people still don't want to give them credit, even though they've won 10 wins, but like they play good defense and they do one thing very, very well, and that's run the football.
Yeah. And then speaking of the AFC North, you matched up against Cincy and Cleveland and Baltimore. Which team did you look forward to facing the most?
Any of them, honestly. I think any game that we play against them was very intense. Cincy's very, I would say, I don't know, like Baltimore's a rivalry, but like Cincy's like on a whole nother level. Like it's like a beef more so than a rival. Like it's like a hate somewhat, because if you watch the past few years, like the hits and the personal fouls, this and that, like it's
where's Burfict?
Crazy.
Speaking of Cincy, where's Burfict? Speaking of hits in Cincinnati, where's he doing?
I don't know, man, but that's why it's so crazy with that. I think the Cleveland one's going to be better as the years go on. Years from now, I think they'll be better. But I think the AFC North are probably one of the toughest divisions in football. I mean, it was when I was there. Like it was one of the best divisions in football. Period. 5
years from now, who's the best quarterback in the AFC North?
That's a good question. I mean, I want to say Lamar, but I think Joe Burrow is very, very good.
Not Baker. So I think you brought not Baker.
I think Baker's good too, but I just think that Joe has like a higher ceiling just because of just like he knows how to read blitzes, he knows how to pick up things. Like he kept Cincy in a lot of games. Like Cincy just missing people around him. And that's what their goal should be, is more so linemen, being a better defense. They got some skilled players, but they need big guys and a good defense around. I think they'll be fine.
Do you remember your first time you met Ben Roethlisberger?
I think it was like my second day there. He just walked around. He was like, hey man, my name is Ben, or whatever. And
yeah, I've never heard of you before. You new here?
Yeah,
I figured he knows who people think I figured he knows people. He thinks people know who he is. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was somewhat like that. I mean, it was just more like, hey man, what's up? And like we had like a mutual friend in a way that he played college ball with, and kind of broke the ice. But I mean, he's all right.
That's cool. That's awesome. I have a question. What was the first time Coach Tomlin said something like one of his phrases, and you were like, does anybody else know what the hell he's talking about?
Probably that day, my first day. And then after that, like, it's crazy. Like, I use my stuff with my kids. Like, I use the same slogans, like standards is standard, like, iron sharpens iron. Like, I'll see, like, he'll come up with some crazy stuff, and I'll be like, man, that's some deep shit. But it's I love his coaching style, of his mannerisms. I love his little slogans, and it's just like, hey, we're playing a bunch of nameless great faces. It's just kind of true. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You go out there and ball and do your thing. I mean, we have a chance to win. If you have a good team, it doesn't matter who you're playing.
In hindsight, do you think they wish they brought Bell back this year after he got cut by the Jets?
Probably. I think they messed up with that one a lot.
Do you think Connor's the guy going forward, or do you think they're just still looking?
I think they're still looking. I think Connor shows flashes, but he doesn't show the consistency. He had that 1 year, and that was it.
Yeah.
And that was a year like no one really knew what he could do.
Yeah, it's a great story. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
And then I've got for some reason, do you think this is Juju's last year in Pittsburgh? Nothing to do with the dancing or anything. I just figured with all these guys they're drafting, I don't see them paying him.
What year is this for him? His third year?
I think I want to say it's his fourth.
It is his fourth.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do. Honestly, I saw Shannon Sharp say yesterday he hasn't had 100-yard game since AB left.
Jeez.
So
I didn't realize. I didn't know that.
And I think I told people that when AB was there and AB was leaving, like, oh, we got Juju, and I was like, like being number one's a whole nother ball game, man.
Yeah.
Being number one guy is a whole nother. And then now everybody has film on you, and like it's different. It's a whole lot different. Yeah. And like what you're doing is playing man, like just basically man coverage the whole game against like the second guy.
Yeah.
And how many teams really have a tandem of corners? Like how many teams? Not very many. So
no.
So you're gonna get yours.
Do you think Claypool's a good number one, or what are you sold on him?
I think he's a good player. I think that he's physical. I thought Juju was going to be more of a Hines type player.
Interesting.
From the way they were using him when he first got there. I think Juju's a solid number two. I think Deontay Johnson's very good too. He's
always hurt. He's always hurt. Man, I do fantasy, and I played him like twice this year, and I'm like, all right, they got a great matchup. He's going, and I'm like, wait, where he's already out again, bro? What? And then what about they got the kid from Oklahoma State too? Washington, he makes some plays.
Yeah, I think he's a good 50-50 ball guy. I think they'll keep him for sure, but I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know. They do a good job of drafting receivers, and there's some receivers in this class too. So.
Yeah, and then I also want to ask you about with the Cardinals. You spent some time there. What have been your thoughts on their season? Because at first they're like, all right, like they're the team to beat, and then like everybody's beating them, and now they're just trying to make a playoff push. What have been your thoughts on their season?
I mean, they're missing some guys. I mean, when you lose the leading sack leader for the past like 2-3 years, that helps. That messes up a lot. I think that they're a good team. I think they're a very explosive team. I'm friends with Drake and a couple other guys I used to play with. So, it's like I think they're a good team. I think that people still underestimate them a lot, and I think they got one of the most exciting players playing quarterback that touches the ball every single play. And then they got the best receiver and one of the best receivers in the game. So I think they're a great team. I think the NFC team to me is probably New Orleans or Green Bay. in my opinion. But I don't see that there's a team that can beat the Chiefs, though, man. No. I still don't think there's a team that can beat the Chiefs right now.
No, it looks like it's there's or bust, because I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's up to them to screw it up. Like, that's the only way they'll lose if they screw it up.
Have you ever seen a guy faster than Tyreek Hill?
Mike Wallace was like that, but not that short. No. But from that standpoint of explosiveness, I've never seen a guy who's that fast and that explosive. No, I've never seen anybody like that. I've seen a lot of fast guys, but not anybody that explosive and fast at the same time.
Yeah. So I got one last question for you. So you won the 6th round from Georgia Tech. Another guy's breaking out in the NFL 6th round from Georgia Tech, Darren Waller on the Raiders. What's been your thoughts on his ascension? I've actually been in touch with his foundation, hopefully trying to get an interview with him later in the year. But I think he's the second best tight end in the NFL.
I think he could compete to be the first one, in my opinion. I've known Darren since he was 5 years old. Him and my brother are friends. They grew up playing pound ball together. We're from the same area, so I've seen him grow up, and I think the main thing is I didn't know things were that bad. That was just the thing. I mean, I know he was going through some things, but I didn't know it was that dark. But I'm more so happy that he's on the opposite end, and not where he was.
Yeah.
I mean, football's a bonus. I think football's great, and that he's doing well, and he's a Pro Bowler, and he's one of the best in the world at his position. But I'm just glad that he's using what he's gone through and using it as a cause to help others, and that he's on the opposite end, man. Because I could only imagine, the stories that would be told, what if? But now it's and he's a freak, man. Him moving to a time was the greatest move he ever made.
Interesting. So he played receiver mostly growing up?
In college he did, and then in high school he was a safety in high school. He played both ways, but he was recruited at Tech as a safety. He was always that fast and everything, but his change of direction has gotten so much better. And, he's a freak, man. That's all I can say.
Do you think I've been wanting the Raiders to do this the past 2 years, but they won't do it. If they put Peterman in, they can bring his game, Waller's game, to the next level. When Carr got hurt, don't tell me when he got hurt. I don't know what the hell, he was weird jogging, he messed up his groin. When he got hurt, I'm like, it's Peterman time, and they're like, no, we got Marcus. I'm like, that's fine, but it's not as you don't get that jolt up your spine for Mariota. Peterman comes in, you're like, he might throw it to the crowd. There's nobody even at the game. He might throw it out of the state. We don't know what's going on. Did he get LASIK? I don't know what the hell. What do you think of their QB situation?
I think this is a good opportunity for Marcus to show what he can do. I think honestly he could be doing what Ryan Tannehill's doing in Tennessee if he had a consistent coordinator this whole entire time. I think that it's a great opportunity for him to find a spot next year. There's gonna be a couple teams where quarterbacks. There's some quarterbacks who are getting up there, and he might have an opportunity to get a start somewhere else. Yeah. And he brings a lot of different dimensions to the game. So as a team, they got to worry about him. They got to worry about Waller. They got that, and Jacobs. I think Jacobs is the most underrated backs in the league.
Really?
But I think that this is a great opportunity for him. Hopefully, Peterman doesn't go in.
What do you mean? Hopefully, he doesn't. Come on, man.
Ever since that Tyrod Taylor situation, I just he got benched.
That was a hit. That was a hit, in my opinion. That was a hit. Herbert. This is my hot take that I have no proof whatsoever. I think Herbert's been teasing the people at AccuView about getting a skin cream because he's got something going on. He's been teasing them about doing a sponsorship. He said, "Hey, you take out Tyrod. We'll work on something." They got all these billboards in LA. He goes, "You work on something. I'll get you the skin cream. I'm gonna get this all cleared up." But it still hasn't happened yet. Maybe it's coming after the season. So that's my hot take. Yes. No proof whatsoever, but he needs to get some skin cream. I don't know what the ones they used to advertise all the time. AccuView Oasis with Justin Herbert. Get that shit right there. You take your game to the next level. They could have 3 more wins if he didn't have pimples. I don't know, but
he's a baller though. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he can play. He can play. That's wild. Oh, and I got one last question for you. Who's the best running back in the NFL in your opinion?
Right now, I'd probably say Dalvin Cook. And just like everybody's gonna say Derrick Henry, and I like Derrick Henry's game a lot, but when I think about a running back, like we're supposed to do all 3 phases.
Yeah.
And I think McCaffrey, if McCaffrey's healthy, he's most definitely probably number 1 by far. But I think Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs I love his game, man. I love Josh Jacobs' game. I think if Le'Veon takes care of his opportunity that he's going to have, because Hilaire's going to be out there, he can rise and remind people how good he is.
Yeah.
But I think Dalvin Cook's number 1 right now.
Do you think people are forgetting how good Saquon was, or do you think?
I don't know why. I mean, that's the thing about running back position, man. Like, that's the thing about the running backs. As soon as you have one injury, everybody forgets you. Yeah. Like everybody thought AP was done, and all of a sudden he breaks 2,000 yards, and like, realizes like, I'm still the king, and that type of thing, and but I'm excited for a lot of those guys. I mean, a lot of these injuries obviously happen because they didn't have an off season.
Yeah.
But they'll be back. They'll be all right.
I have an idea that the NFL for running backs that are going to the draft should take into draft negotiations. I think running backs get screwed over in contracts more than any other player because they're so heavily utilized, and they give them that short rookie scale contract. And then by the time they get an extension, the teams are like, oh, these guys are already burned out. I think rookie running backs should be able to negotiate their own contracts at the draft.
I think a guy, I've known McCaffrey since he was in college, in high school. And, I was a counselor at the opening camp that they have every year, and I was a counselor, and he was in high school for that, and we've been cool ever since. And after his 3rd year, which was his 2nd year being a starter, I was like, dude, you need to ask for a re-up. Like, if you're a starter as a rookie and you played 3 solid seasons, and you're on a 5-year, your first round guy, you need to ask for a re-up right then and right there, because you're still young. And like, it's like, you might as well use the power that you have. And then nowadays, I mean, guys, especially if you're a big time guy on your team and probably one of the most valuable players, you gotta use your power, man, because this league it's crazy, man. This league is crazy compared to any other league where it's player driven. This league is owner driven, which is the wrong way to go. But I mean, it starts with them. It starts with the players usually realizing who they are, what type of power they do have.
Yeah. And then one last thing, which of the rookie running backs, when you see him play, you're like, all right, this guy's got next?
Give me some rookie running backs I can think of.
Gibson, Edwards-Helaire, the kid on the Jags is phenomenal. Robinson.
I think he's like, I didn't know who the hell he was. I'll be honest.
I don't think they did either. They said, oh, he's here for a tryout? Oh, yeah. Where's Leonard Fournette? Oh, my favorite thing that Leonard Fournette nobody talks about is his brother's name is Leonard, and I've never seen them two in the same room. So
I think he's good. The guy from the Jags. I think Hilaire's really good. But I like Gibson, man. I like his game. I like his game a lot.
Yeah.
I like his game.
That's awesome. Well, that's really all the questions.
I think Swift could be good too.
I forgot about Swift. Swift is
I think Swift could be good.
They had that terrible AP had that. Did you see that quote a couple weeks ago? He had that horrible quote. I'm like, all right, this shit's serious. But he had the concussion, and they were like, well, he had that thing with his brain. I'm like, no, don't break that shit up. Like he's like he ain't been different since. I'm like, all right, this is red flags. Like I know concussions are serious business. When you go, no, he had that brain thing. I'm like, no, don't go there. Don't go there. That's wild shit. I was like, what? Yeah, that's wild. Well, that's really all the questions I really have for you. How can people follow you on social media, keep up with you, see what you're doing, and check out your school you're coaching at?
Well, Instagram _J Dwyer Senior _ for Instagram. I'm coaching at Kell High School in Marietta, Georgia. I'm running back coach there for the varsity, and I'm training kids and other athletes from all ages, from little kids all the way up to pro guys, at Fury Performance in Woodstock, Georgia. So just hit me up, man. I'm easy to talk to.